Yes. Hello. Welcome.
Hi, thank you so much. It's such an honor to be here among such great people, artists, culturalists. I'm very honored to be here. Thank you to the organizers and to Graz for being so kind to us, giving us the perfect weather to tour around town. So thank you so much. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you. I'm sure most of you have ever used a car. Maybe some of you have sold an old car or given away a car. Maybe some of you have called ÖMTC because your battery went empty, and maybe you simply received a new one. Certainly, all of us are using cell phones. I'm talking about lead-acid batteries that are used in cars, motorcycles, but also in the backup storage towers for cell phones. They're used in solar panels. And you started to work in a factory that is recycling such batteries, because 1.2 million tons of such batteries end up in Africa, where the lead is being extracted and resold. Would you like to share with us what is happening in such a recycling factory? We all probably think recycling is a good thing. Could you share with us what you experienced there, what you saw, and how this affected your family, the communities there, and the environment there?
Thank you, Lina. Recycling is a good thing. The only thing that when it is done under conditions that are unsafe for communities, which is what was happening in the Winohuru communities, where lead-acid batteries were being imported into Kenya from around the globe, and they were brought into the Winohuru community, where a smelting process, the batteries underwent a smelting process without any protections whatsoever for the workers, for the adjacent communities, without enough monitoring of the waste that was produced during this process. And the result was it ended up in the environment. It polluted the water that the communities were using. It polluted the air. The smelting process included infusion of acid in the process, and this acid was living through the chimneys and running into the playground of the children. So a lot of the children got skin diseases where at some point after several years, the children's skin was not attaching to their bodies, and many of them died such a painful death because of this process that was going on. So, of course, I had applied, interviewed, and gotten a job. And a few months into the job, I realized what was going on. And I chose to leave and to instead try and see what could be done to assist this community. And it's something that I thought would take just a short time, but it has taken my whole life. It has been, I started in 2009, and this is 2024. I'm still in court with the perpetrators trying to get justice for the community. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And since this festival is raising the question what we do when we face such a form of destruction, and how we feel about it and how we can react on it, how did it make you feel in the first place when you observed that, when you realized that this particular plant is causing such environmental destruction and destruction of livelihoods?
All right. So for me, I think I had a little help from Mother Nature. Maybe not in a very good way, but my son also, because he was still young, he was breastfeeding, and I used to have him in the office a lot of the times. And within that short period that I worked there for about 2 months. He became sick, and when we tested his blood, we found that he had very high lead levels in his blood. And so for me, it was also a personal fight, because then it made me think about all the children in the community. And so whenever we are faced with such challenges, what I've learned is that own it. Don't wait for the next person to do it. Do what you can at your own level. And if we are all doing something at our little level, in the end it creates change, and that's what we need.
Thanks a lot, yeah. So you surely got active. Would you share with us more about your activism, your engagement? Because you have been active on community level, but up to the UN level, you've been successfully fighting for community empowerment, for justice. You really changed environmental law. So please share it with us what you did, how you did that.
I have had a lot of partners along the way. When I began, I was just a lone ranger from one village in Kenya. But as I started to speak out, and with speaking out came a lot of repression that I did not expect. In my early days of speaking out, actually, I was arrested and arraigned in court, charged with inciting violence and illegal gathering. And for a long time, I had been trying to speak to the corporations and to the state to tell them to address this issue. I had taken it upon myself to ensure that I was running enough tests, scientific tests, blood tests, to prove that there was something going wrong in the community. And after my son's blood test came out, I tested 3 children. 3 of them tested positive for lead poisoning. I tested 10 children. They tested positive for lead poisoning. And so I began a journey of trying to convince these people that they needed to act to protect this community. And at first, I did not identify as an activist. I kept saying, actually, it's the media who started calling me an activist. But those first days, I used to say, no, I'm just trying to make people see that this community is at risk. It was until I was actually arrested and I went to, I slept in the police cell. And in the morning when I was going out, I found that the whole community of Oinohuru had slept outside the police station to wait for me. And when I was leaving the police station to go to court to be charged, the community, even though it was a poor community, walked all the way several kilometers to court, and the court was packed when I was arraigned. And so when the judge called my name and said, Phyllis Omido, you are being charged with inciting violence and illegal gathering. So that is the first time I actually stood up and said, yes, I'm an environmental activist, and I'm standing for the right of the Oinohuru community to enjoy their right to a clean and healthy environment. So, thank you so much. This journey has been filled with support from the communities, from partners, from friends, like those who have invited us here. They have worked hard besides us to ensure that what our causes are in Africa become a reality for our people. One of the things that I was very privileged to be part of was the earlier on move towards recognizing the right to a clean and healthy environment. I had actually get crushed an event at the UN where I was not actually invited, but managed to sneak into the event. And the reason why I had snuck into that event was to present the issue of the Oinohuru community. But when I arrived in the function, I found one of the UN special mandates was presenting our case in that meeting. And so I stood up and said, that's my community. And that is the first platform that I accessed at the UN, where I presented the issue of the Winohuru community and why it was not just a local issue, but a global issue, and why everyone on the planet deserved to have the recognition of the right to a clean and healthy environment. And from that time onwards, I have walked a journey that has been largely successful because of partnerships of governments, UN, the civil society, friends, communities, and international communities and the local communities. And I guess this is what has given a lot of success to my work, and I'm very grateful.
Thanks a lot. I think that really shows how... It really shows how powerful solidarity is, and how local and global issues are connected. Yeah. We've heard briefly in German about the worrisome news you received just these days. Would you like to share again with us what is happening and maybe what all of us can do?
Yes. So I came with one of my colleagues. His name is Anthony. Maybe you can just stand and wave, Anthony. So we have been walking a journey with a community in Mombasa, in the coastal side of Kenya, called the Uyombo community. This is a coastal community of fishermen and farmers. And conservationists. This community is nestled between the only coastal forest in East Africa, the Arabuko-Sokoke forest, and the Watamu Marine Park. The Watamu Marine Park has several acres of mangrove trees that the community has planted that help to regenerate the ocean and the marine life. And this has been a community initiative for many years. Lately, the community women have benefited because there has been the push towards carbon trading, and so they are also making a living out of the conservation work that they are doing. Sadly, about 3 years ago, the Kenyan government decided that this was the ideal place to put a nuclear power plant. And of course, the community, led by Anthony, we bumped into each other actually accidentally. While when I got the news, of course, I rushed to start, finding out more about it. Was there access to information? Was there public participation of the community? What were the plans made to ensure that there was effective remedies in case of any environmental harm? And in that process, I met Anthony, and he was also mobilizing the community at his level. And so we sat down and decided that we would team up and see how best we would address the issues that were being raised by the community. Sadly, it has been a very tough journey. I had thought that because I've become a global figure, the threats would reduce, but not so much, because the day that we were coming here on Monday, we received news that there was... the nuclear power agency had gone into the community with armed policemen and tried to forcefully commission the power plant. And of course, one of the women in the community went to talk to them and told them that the last meeting we had agreed that the government was going to do public participation, which has not been done. And we also need to know whether you have been licensed to commission this project. Unfortunately, the community was attacked. I have just received the police report on my email, and they said they used more than 370 live bullets in the community. They used more than 70 tear gas canisters on a community that is unarmed, and the only thing that they did was to inquire whether the law had been followed. This woman was beaten brutally and hurt, and when the community saw that, they went in to try and defend her. It became a fracas the whole of Monday and Tuesday. We have been on the phone between lawyers, the international community, the UN, our communities, trying to see how best this issue would be resolved. 3 of our members were arrested. 2 of them members are liaisons in the Uyombo community. One of them is the programs officer at my organization, who had gone to find out from the police why these two had been arrested. And he was also arrested and put in jail. We have just received news that all three have been released on police free bond. And so that has relieved us because the charges that were being brought against them were quite serious. They claimed that they had harmed a police officer, which attracts a very, it's assault. And in Kenya, you can be jailed for so many years for that. So we are glad that the advocacy that we did, because Anthony and I think, slept at around 1 a.m. on Monday, 1 a.m. on Tuesday, trying to get people to assist the community. We are very glad that finally the community received help, but the issue is not resolved because the nuclear power plant is still set to come to Uyombo. And what we are asking for is that the voice of the Uyombo community be respected, that their rights be upheld, that they are consulted in a project that is coming into their area. Kenya also is very blessed. We have so many other sources of energy. We get sunshine every day. And so we can access solar. Most of our people use solar because you just put a panel and it's fully charged any day. So we are trying to prevail upon government to use, to try and invest in just energy transition, but not just any energy transition, but a just energy transition where communities are part of the decision making, that we make decisions that are good for our people and that are sustainable for our communities. Thank you for giving us a platform also to share this story. Thank you so much.
Thank you for sharing. I have one last question. How were you able to shape and continuously work on this just transition? Like, what gives you the energy, the positivity to go further and further? And what is your call for action for all of us that maybe are thinking, is it worth it? Is it reversible? What can we do? Or that are also facing anxiety or depression about, like, we're not reaching our goals fast enough or something. Yeah.
I think I've learned to appreciate the small wins that we get, but I'm also human. I cannot say that I've always been positive. After I was arrested, I actually didn't work for almost 2 years. I was afraid because I had never faced such a thing. I had also been attacked by gunmen at my house. And so for a long time, I was also scared to speak out. But because of the amount of suffering that our communities were going through, I kept documenting when the children were dying, there were miscarriages. So in many cases, I had no choice. I had to continue speaking up. And you don't always have to feel good every day. There are those days that I also get really frustrated. Like the past 2 days were really hard for both of us. I could not sleep. I could not imagine what these people who have never seen tear gas, how scared they were for all this tear gas in their home, all these live bullets in their homes. And so situations like this, in most cases, have left us no choice but to keep speaking up because we want to see a change and we truly believe that change is possible. Having said that, I have met a lot of people here doing amazing work. I have seen people trying to be very creative in terms of merging art and sustainability. I have seen all the work that many of the artists are doing here, and it's amazing, and it's a good step towards the future. I keep telling people we just need to look back where we came from. And we can always find it in ourselves to get hope, to keep going, because we do not have the choice of losing hope. We know that we are almost at the tipping point. And so if we lose hope now, what happens to the future generations? So we owe it to them, and we owe it to ourselves to keep standing up, accept the days that are gloomy and sad, but always remember that we still have to stand up because it's our own responsibility. In terms of immediate action, I think we'll probably share a tweet that was tweeted by the UN Special Rapporteur on Human Rights Defenders, Mary Lola, on yesterday and today on the issue in Uyombo. And the first thing I would request humbly is to get some retweets on that, because that then would create safer space for our people in Uyombo, because there's still a lot of tension. In terms of long term, I think we are on the right path. The fact that this festival is focused on creating this change shows that we are on the right path. The fact that we from the global south have traveled all the way to the global north, we have all met in this room to discuss how we can make things better. I think that is a good place that we are, and that we should not give up and just keep going at it. And I'm a very positive person. I know that we can do it.
Thanks a lot.